chimwe chavanochemera, chinhu chimwe chete chimwe chete, chinhu chimwe chete, chinhu chimwe chete. Vote chete ndo yavanongochemera. Chivapaika pa2023 chinhu chimwe chete ichocho, vote chete. Ndatenda hangu.
Thank you for that beautiful poem. I hope we all heard what that man was saying, our beautiful poet. Chimwe chete. Sorry, my Shona is not good. But I know he was saying what we are crying for is just to vote, just to place an X. That is all that we are crying for. And today, by the end of today, I am hoping we are going to bring that change.
All of you, thank you very much for giving me your attention on this point. I'm just going to present a poem to you, which was written specifically, as has been mentioned, for this event. Our vote, our fight. Our vote, our right. Our vote, our life. Dedication determines destination. We may be deposed in the diaspora, but we are dedicated to a better Zimbabwe. One Zimbabwean, one vote. One country, one success. Geographic demarcation has already been decided, but let us be the masters of our own political demarcation. Our right to vote has been crushed. It has been decapitated. It has been executed. Our right to vote has been vetoed. But in our fight to vote, we will be victorious. We will be vanquishers. Those living and working in the diaspora have been diabolically disqualified and relegated to the doldrums of the political wilderness. For 40 years, we have been marching blindly to the promised land. Moses and Joshua have come and gone, and the land of milk and honey has still not appeared on the political horizon. Our inviolable right to the ballot box has been left in tatters. It has been slaughtered. It has been butchered. It has been massacred. And our path to the ballot box is littered with barbaric bullets, tyrannical tear gas, and political potholes. All there is a wild, insane cacophony in machine gun staccato fashion which echoes from the depths of political injustice. But we will not be silent. We will not be suppressed. We will not be oppressed. And we will not be repressed. We will not be indifferent. We will not be unconcerned. We will not partake in political suicide and somnambulism. Ladies and gentlemen, we demand our vote. Give me my vote. Give me my life. Give me my right, or be prepared for a fight. Thank you very much.
Of Zimbabweans now, all we are saying is that home is home. Zimbabwe is home, and that's where we belong. Join the movement for My Right to Vote. Let your voice be heard from Limpopo to Zambezi, from the highlands in Manicaland to the plains of Plumtree. In South Africa, we've made so much inroads already. We've made people see the light at the end of a dark, dark tunnel. To add piri-piri and spice or spice it up, please welcome Arnold Bebe to talk about what the South African side has in store. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is about mobilizing membership to this movement. It is about reaching out to all and sundry in the Zimbabwe diaspora to reignite that hope which they have lost along the way, and to work with them in finding ways and means of dislodging the status quo. It is to facilitate this, we have invited and now work hand in glove with political parties and other organizations across the political landscape of Zimbabwe. We insist on inclusivity of all our people across the tribal, racial and religious divide. Our message is simple. The maladies of misgovernance, abuse of power, cronyism and disregard for the rule of law that are endemic in Zimbabwe do not afflict our society selectively but collectively.
I'm talking to the diaspora, and I'll define what I call diaspora myself. I'm talking to the people that perhaps expect somebody else to do something and saying it's not somebody else, it's you. The change is going to come not from somebody else, but from you. You have a role. I will take his number. I like somebody who said, now, if you want your right, don't send Ralph Nguli to go and actually get your right for me. You got to take your right, you got to take a fight.
And to dedicate a poetic rendition as I introduce none other than Chief Khayisa Ndiweni. Inkosi, Nhlanhla yamangwe Ndiweni, lo onga ngendlovu wena uyisilo umkhulu wamangwe. Emkheswa, emdladla, umdladla odlamandla akhe enjola. Njola kamkheswa madanga endinisane kaThambo esethukase. Othwala besake. Entazikwisela yasemangweni, elodunga kandaba, amalebo mfula, emadlodlongwane, ibuhlasi benkosi, ubuhlasi bendlunkulu. Elingwe limqongo, ilingwe lasemangweni, amangwe amqobo, imputhi yamahlathi, izizwe lezizwane. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as we welcome to the podium and other than Chief Khayisa Ndiweni.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, Mama. Thank you very much all for coming today. It is an honor, it is a privilege to be amongst you, particularly since we are in the midst of this COVID outbreak. So we have to acknowledge the deep sacrifice and the deep work that has gone into this whole setup. I must right at the outset extend a huge gratitude to the team that I'm working with. I did not come here as a singular person. I come here with a team. A team that has traversed the globe within a very short space in time indeed. A team that has managed to obtain support from all over the globe. Once again, in a very, very short space of time. But once again, it is the fact that there is a simple message at heart. It is a basic message. When something is basic, when something is simple, when something is that idea, it is incredibly hard to debunk an idea. An idea which comes when the time is right. My right to vote is such a thing. It rolls off the tongue very easily. My right to vote. My right to vote. My right to vote. And indeed, it is a human right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to speak. I mean, coming here to engage in a conversation with you, to get personal with you, to come into your living room, to come into your home, to come into your space, to have a deep and thorough conversation with you. because we are touching something that makes a nation, something that develops a nation, something that is indeed the very foundation of every functioning democracy across the globe. If any nation in the world does not have this entity, the right to vote, then by definition it is not a democracy. Forget it. It is only those nations that have at the core, at the very center of themselves, the notion, the idea, the aspiration that every human being has the right to vote. So it doesn't matter how much PR one engages, it does not matter how much marketing one engages. You cannot pull the wool over the eyes of the people when you deprive them of their basic human right, my right to vote. In the context of Zimbabwe, my right to vote is the roadmap for Zimbabwe. I know very well that there are many other people postulating about all sorts of things. Maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, maybe we can turn left, maybe we can turn right. Today, at the launch of My Right to Vote, we are being forthright, straight to the point. My Right to Vote is the roadmap for Zimbabwe. Because without it, without My Right to Vote, there is no roadmap for Zimbabwe. Because as my colleagues have spoken already, how is it, how logical is it that in the modern age, 2020, a country can disenfranchise over 5 million people of its own citizens? And then they have the arrogance to call themselves a democracy. That is nonsensical. And so I begin my talk to say, yes, my right to vote is the roadmap for Zimbabwe. I'm a man of faith. I'm a deep man of faith. My good book tells me life is not by sight, but it is by faith. People of the diaspora, Zimbabweans, let us have that hope and faith right in here. Even if we don't quite understand where my right to vote is going or what it's doing, have the courage, have the faith, as Wabumpuni has said, to step through that door. I know in the diaspora, people form groups, there are associations, there are political parties, there are all sorts of things. I'm saying to you all, on this occasion, let us come together around My Right to Vote, which is not a political party, it is a human rights campaign. And it welcomes everyone, irrespective of political persuasion. Let's hold hands and walk this long walk of ours and make it a short walk. Ladies and gentlemen, river deep, mountain high. That is the nature of this conversation I'm having with you today. The Rasta man, Peter Tosh, said, everyone is crying for peace. None is crying out for justice. I don't want no peace. I don't want no peace. I don't want no peace. We want justice. We want the human right to come in. And as we touch on this issue, I make reference to the times we're living in. Never before in the modern age has humanity come to such an event horizon as the COVID. It is swept from the east to the west, from the north to the south. It has touched all nations, all people, all countries. It has been a pandemic that began as a contagion. And humanity found itself totally, completely naked. But it taught us one thing. The world is a very small space. There is no country in the world that can be an island. If you think you can make your country an island, then you are living in fool's paradise. And I make that reference particularly to Zimbabwe, where the political discourse has been so insular, so small-minded, so pathetic, where people have thought there could be an island. That does not exist. There is no nation that can be an island. COVID-19 has taught us that in a graphic manner, in a powerful manner. Zimbabwe cannot be an island geographically. Zimbabwe cannot be an island economically. Zimbabwe cannot be an island politically. At some point in time, Zimbabwe must rise up and join the brotherhood, the sisterhood of nations. It has no choice. But in order to join that association, it must subscribe to the basic dictates of democracy. My right to vote. You cannot walk into a club if a club says our rules here say jacket and tie, and you come in dressed with a tracksuit. Currently, the current administration is dressed in a tracksuit. So it will be ejected at the door. It will not be allowed to enter the brotherhood and sisterhood of nations so long as it denies the diaspora the vote. My right to vote. According to the United Nations stats, Zimbabwe has a population of 14.9 million people, according to 2018. In 1980, those who were on the voters' roll were 2,700,000. In 2008, those who were on the voters' roll were 5,900,000. In 2013, those who were on the voters' roll were 3,900,000. In 2018, those on the voters' roll were 4.8 million. All these figures are estimates. They are estimates from the United Nations purely because the current administration in Zimbabwe cannot keep records, does not have an ability to keep records, lacks transparency, cannot furnish the biggest organization on this planet with basic figures. Hence their estimates. But the estimates speak out to us in a bold way. If a country has 14,900,000 and only 4,800,000 voted, where are the other 10,100,000? And so it's a reasonable estimate, it's a reasonable guesstimate to say the diaspora has 5 million plus voters who were denied the votes. Friends, colleagues, brothers, do you realize that in the diaspora you could elect a government as you are? Do you realize that in the diaspora, even if everyone in Zimbabwe was beaten and bruised and forced and frog-marched to go and put an X where they didn't want to, you sitting in the diaspora could elect a government on your own. which would walk into State House in Harare and govern that country in the manner that we all wish. The speakers before me were eloquent to try and galvanize the diaspora. I too am following suit in that vein, to galvanize you, to say you are sitting on a potential that is profound, a potential that is huge. My plea to you all is just to simply say, let us put aside those differences that have been over these years. Let's come together under this banner, My Right to Vote. When we achieve My Right to Vote, you are well within your right to return to your political persuasions, to engage in the political roles, to do the things that you want to do. Because then the field will be leveled. Right now the field is off balance, it is off key. Right now there is not a singular, and I can say this with confidence, there is not a singular political party that will attain their aims and objectives because they will not be allowed to win that vote. That is a guarantee. The legal status of voting. Your right to vote in the diaspora has already been signed in the United Nations. It has already been signed in the African Union. It has already been signed in the Zimbabwean Electoral Act. All of these institutions tell you straight away that you are allowed to vote. And yet here we are. We are denied the right to vote. If we cast our minds back to the Bush War, every single party that engaged in the Bush War fought for the right to vote. One human, one vote. One human, one vote. There is not a single party that qualified that vote to say, oh, by the way, one human, one vote, but if you live in the diaspora, you can't vote. Not one of them said that. That conversation only came in after 1980, when politicians who had become drunk with power started looking for ways of how to remain in power ad infinitum, completely remain in power. So we need to be very clear that the vote was never qualified, it is yours. And My Right to Vote is going all out to try and get that vote for you. The diaspora has tried to get the vote. The diaspora asked the current administration if they could be allowed to vote. The answer was no. The diaspora went to court, the High Court in Zimbabwe. The answer was also no. The diaspora asked those election observers who come and observe our elections in Zimbabwe if that could be included in their report, to say this is a reform that must be implemented. The current administration is backpedaling so fast that will never happen. So in essence, really, we're looking at a situation whereby so long as the current administration is in office, the diaspora will be denied that vote. And so for us as My Right to Vote, that is why at the outset I said it is the roadmap for Zimbabwe. We are going out there to garner that support. We're going out there to achieve that support so that we can do things our way. The previous speakers touched on the dates today, which is the 12th of September. And yes, 130 years ago, the 12th of September 1890, Cecil John Rhodes' column arrived at Fort Salisbury, which was Salisbury at the time and now is Harare. In the morning of the following day, on the 13th at 9 a.m., the Union Jack was raised over Fort Salisbury. and that was annexed as part of the colonial empire. So it is an ominous day for us that today we find ourselves launching this organization here. For us, we're saying it is a good omen because we're starting afresh. We're doing things. My Right to Vote, good people, is independent. It is an independent organization. It is an independent human rights organization. My Right to Vote is not part of the Zimbabwean Election Commission, it's not part of ZEC. My Right to Vote is not part of the current administration in Zimbabwe. It is independent of the administration in Zimbabwe. My Right to Vote will compile a register of voters in the whole of the diaspora. We're chasing after 5 million votes. That is our target. That is what we want to do. My Right to Vote will facilitate elections in the diaspora. My Right to Vote will facilitate referendums in the diaspora. My Right to Vote will announce the results of all of those plebiscites when the results are out. My Right to Vote will not share. My Right to Vote of an election commission or the current administration in Harare. My Right to Vote is an organization that has been set up, headquartered here in London. It will be audited, monitored, and assessed here in London by international institutions to make sure that it conforms with what is credible. It is this credibility that forces us not to associate with ZEC, the Zimbabwean Election Commission, a commission that has been roundly, globally denounced as not fit for purpose. So we cannot be associated with that. My Right to Vote will generate an electronic register of all the diaspora. So when you register, it will go in electronically. From your smartphone, from your laptop, from your computer. That is how we are going to work. Likewise, the election process itself will be done electronically so that it goes through in that particular way. As I was saying earlier on, My Right to Vote is the roadmap for Zimbabwe. I know there are many conversations about how the roadmap for Zimbabwe should look. But we're saying to you today, good people know it and accept it, that My Right to Vote is the roadmap. Good people know it and understand it, that My Right to Vote is the roadmap to Zimbabwe. And because of the impasse, because of the blockages that are before us, and because of the acceptance that the current administration will not give way for a proper election process in the diaspora, we are saying that the roadmap for Zimbabwe leads one way and only one way. That is to a transitional administration. Let me say that again, just because people may not have heard me clearly. My Right to Vote is on the roadmap, and that roadmap leads only to one way. That is a transitional administration in Zimbabwe. That is the only credible institution that will enable people in the diaspora to vote. The roadmap of Zimbabwe does not lead to a government of national unity. That process failed. The roadmap for Zimbabwe does not lead to Poland. That process has also failed. The roadmap to Zimbabwe does not lead to a useless dialogue within Zimbabwe. That is only failed. The roadmap leads to a transitional administration in Zimbabwe. And My Right to Vote is part of that. By assuming this position, we're not assuming a political role. As we said, we are non-political, non-partisan. We are assuming a role that will enable us all to respect human rights and to give you the authority to vote when you want to vote. My right to vote comes at an opportune moment. It is the first organization that can translate the social media dialogue that has happened into reality on the ground. So when we are talking about hashtag Zimbabwe Lives Matter, that was a powerful, powerful campaign. What was lacking was the engine, the facilitator, to make those changes on the ground. My Right to Vote is poised at the right time to make that happen. Because when you go in, and yes, I must applaud Zimbabweans and non-Zimbabweans who supported and continue to support the hashtag Zimbabwe Lives Matter. I'll throw something towards you and say, also translate that into My Right to Vote registration. Because then you'll be translating social campaign into practicalities on the ground, whereby you can effect what you wish for. It will achieve the diaspora vote. It will achieve those issues that we want to bring in. The My Right to Vote is already accepted internationally. The principle of voting is already accepted internationally. The international world at large, through a number of documentations and observances reports and all those things, already has accepted that the diaspora must be given a vote. So My Right to Vote is an organization that is already accepted. We are pushing at an open door. All that was left was that the international community was waiting to see whether we would stand up and do something about our rights. And that's exactly what we're doing now. It's accepted by the free world, the idea of voting. It is accepted by the United Nations. It is accepted by the African Union. Indeed, it is accepted by our brother next door to us, the Republic of South Africa. So it is a globally acceptable principle. My Right to Vote brings many things to the people in the diaspora. The civil rights campaigner Malcolm X said, you cannot get civil rights if you don't have human rights. You cannot get civil rights if you don't have human rights. It is a powerful statement. It is one that should focus our minds to say, if we are chasing after this My Right to Vote, others before us have already enunciated it, to say how you go about that whole thing. For you in the diaspora, you sitting there who's been working shifts, working day and night, doing all sorts of things, what does this My Right to Vote do for you? Well, we want to push your agenda. Those civil rights issues, like if your passport runs out, we're saying you should get a new passport in 5 working days. If your ID is lost or it's gone, you should get one within 5 working days. None of this waiting for paperwork to send back to Harare and come back and forth, back and forth. No. If you want a long birth certificate, you should have one in 5 working days. If you found yourself here in the diaspora and you found yourself a spouse, that spouse should be entitled to have Zimbabwean citizenship within 10 working days. If you have children from that union, those children should be entitled to Zimbabwean passports and citizenships within 10 working days. If you're flying back to Zimbabwe and you've got your luggage there with you, no customs officer should come near you. if you send your container full of your goods, your hard-earned goods, back to Harare, back to Bulawayo, back to wherever in Zimbabwe, no customs officer should come close to that, free of charge. Because you in the diaspora have already paid your dues. For 40 years, you in the diaspora kept Zimbabwe going. For 40 years, you've been pumping money in. This is the time for the nation called Zimbabwe to pay you back. Had you not been there, people in the diaspora, had you not been there, Zimbabwe would have crumbled a long, long time ago. Zimbabwe exists and continues purely because of your efforts. And for us as a nation, we have to thank you. We have to do something that shows our gratitude towards you. Because for myself, who was here for nearly 28 years, I know the hardships you go through. I know that the shift pattern of work rules your day every single day. It's been a hard slog and it continues to be a hard slog. So all of these things, My Right to Vote will be going out to fight for you. And really with the My Right to Vote, if we take it from a broader spectrum, 5 million of you plus, you are the new war vets because you have it at your hands. It's there. It's in your hands. Whether you're sitting in Tokyo, New York, Amsterdam, Paris, Bruges, Auckland, wherever, you are the new war vets. It is your turn to stand up. It is your turn to do what you need to do for your nation. War vets before you did their job. In 1980, they completed their job. In 2020, the new generation of war vets must arise. And they arise in a new manner, in a new battle, in a new challenge. A challenge that has been spearheaded by My Right to Vote. The electronic process we are talking about will take you only possibly 2 minutes of your time to register. You are sitting on a bus, you are sitting on a tube, you are sitting in a car, you are driving about, you are sitting in a restaurant, you are having your tea break at work. It will take. I would say to those same colleagues and friends in the diplomatic world and the international arena, continue to work with My Right to Vote so that we attain good governance, transparency, accountability. That everything that we do as My Right to Vote is audited so that we have the necessary credence amongst all nations. I would say once again to those diplomatic corps and our friends in the diaspora to say, continue working with us so that we may galvanize the Zimbabwean diaspora, so that the Zimbabwean diaspora may assist us in all that we do, and that the organization will grow very quickly indeed. I would say to the public, to those in the diaspora, keep a lookout. Follow us on the media. Follow us on our social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Keep an eye out open for that, because shortly we will be able to produce to you the methodology of how you can register with My Right to Vote. We are evolving very, very fast indeed. The workload has been heavy, so I would implore those in the diaspora to keep a lookout for that. I would implore those in the diaspora, Zimbabweans there, to take ownership of My Right to Vote. Take ownership of it. This is your thing. Do not think for a second that just because you see Chief Ndiweni here, it's Chief Ndiweni's thing. It is not. My colleague Ubaba Nguni said it very clearly indeed. It belongs to you. It is your thing. It is your baby. That country called Zimbabwe is now a teenager. That country called Zimbabwe produced some, what you call, born free. I remember that term, born free. The born free now have children of their own. They never tested freedom. The born free never experienced that freedom you were talking about. So it is yours. Take ownership of it. Drive it forward. Myself and the team and the whole organization, My Right2Vote, we are here for you. We wish to facilitate this thing for you. We wish to work with you for you, so that we can achieve this goal. In my hearts of hearts, when you see me standing here and talking and the likes, I am a traditional man. I'm a man of faith. My heart is happiest when I'm there in my place in Khayisa Ndiweni. When I'm looking at my cows and working my cows. There will be those who are eloquent, those who are studious, those who are educated, those who have the experience to run governments. I merely wish to see this country of ours called Zimbabwe rise up and take its place amongst the other nations. Take its place amongst the other nations. I have on purpose chosen not to delve into what is wrong in Zimbabwe currently, because that would take me 10 years of speaking. I don't have 10 years to speak with you. I have chosen rather to introduce this new organization so that we know where we're going. In Zimbabwe, I will say to all the political parties, every single political party, come and work with My Right2Vote. You are most welcome. The door will not be closed to any of you. I would say to those who have suffered recently, the lawyers who have been hammered on the streets and in the judiciary and in their places of work, come and join My Right2Vote. Likewise, I'll extend the invitation to the journalists and the media. I'll extend our invitation to the doctors, to the nurses. I'll extend our invitation to the teachers, to the civil servants. I'll extend our invitation to the students and the traditional leaders. I'll extend our invitation to the informal sectors, the farmers and the youths. Encourage your friends and your brothers and your sisters in the diaspora to register with My Right2Vote. Because in each and every one of your particular situations, it will help you. It will assist you. To date, you have all done the best you can in Zimbabwe. The political space has shrunk right down to zero. It would be foolishness and madness for us in the diaspora to still wish that you would rise up. Rise up into what? You are hungry, you are tired. You've been pushed into jail. You've been beaten up, you've been raped. All manner of things have happened to you. We are saying now is the time that the next time you speak to your friends, to your relatives abroad, encourage them to register with My Right2Vote. And let us see what the new war vets can do for you. They will give you back your country. Thank you very much indeed.